It's your girl Nevaeh Love, and I'm back with another video. If you are new to my channel, I just want to say welcome. Go on ahead and hit the subscribe button. Right now, you read the title, we are getting ready to do a story time on the time I was homeless. You might see me looking down a couple times because I kind of wrote everything down in topics so I wouldn't forget or miss anything. So we're just gonna get right into the video. So it all started around like 2015-ish. I had finally got my own little apartment, but I ended up losing all my income. So I wasn't able to continue to pay where I was living. So basically, during that time or whatever, since I had lost my income, I was trying to get a job with the landlord that was there. So that way my bills and everything would still get paid. And at this time, I only had my son, so I didn't have my daughter yet. He had gave me a cleaning job to clean the apartments. He didn't train me or anything, so I didn't know too much about cleaning. But I cleaned up the best way I knew how, like as if I would clean my house type thing. I was trying to do that with the apartments. It took me forever to get everything clean. He would put gas in the car for me, and I would drive back and forth to these apartments. Long story short, he ended up going back to check out the apartments, and he said that they wasn't clean. He didn't like them. When I tell y'all, I bust my butt trying to make sure everything was clean, but he ended up firing me. His wife was really, really sad. Like, she wanted to cry just knowing that me and my son is getting ready to get put out on the streets, and we didn't have anywhere else to go. After that, I ended up going to Canton to stay with my cousin, me and my son. My mom, she was still living in Cleveland. We actually had our own apartments, like in the same building. But I couldn't stay with her during the time because she didn't have any lights or anything in her unit. So yeah, I ended up going to Canton. I stayed with my cousin, and I would work out there. At the time, I was dancing. But I wasn't really making, what I should, because I just felt like, dancing is not for everybody. Like, I don't think dancing was for me, which is why I stopped. But my cousin, she would be making her little money or whatever, and I probably made about 20 bucks and had to give $20 to a girl that stayed across the street, because I would ask her to watch my son. So I would pay her the little money I have or whatever to watch him. Rest in peace, because she's no longer here. But yeah, me and my cousin, when I had went out there, me and her had already got into a little altercation. And we didn't, like, we sat down and talked about it, but we didn't really sit down and talk about it type thing. So, like, the nights we would get drunk from working or whatever, we would immediately start fighting. Like, she would bring up something and show that she's still up. She would say something which shows me that she was still upset, which made me upset. And then, the next thing I know, we would be fighting, which is every single day. So it just got to the point where I just got tired of it, and I just left. I grabbed my son. She ended up calling one of our cousins there or whatever, and she went to work with one of our cousins. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to just go, because I don't know what this is about. All of a sudden, you don't want to talk to me. You being weird. So I'm going to just leave. So I packed up me and my son's stuff, and I left. I went back to Cleveland, Ohio. I paid for a hotel out there, and I stayed in that hotel for a nice little minute. Come to find out, my mom, she ended up leaving her place too. So she became homeless as well. We spending money and money and money on a hotel. Eventually, we ended up going to stay at my aunt's house. Child. When I was staying in her house or whatever, I decided to put in some applications. They had like this little program going on where they would give you uniforms and everything so you could dress up and look presentable whenever you go to your interviews. That's what I did. I got dressed up, and she took me to interviews or whatever. So I ended up getting a job. No, I ended up getting a couple interviews with Red Lobster, but in the end they ended up saying no. And then I ended up finding a job all the way in Menor. That was far according to where I was, so it wasn't really easy to keep catching a bus there because the bus stopped at certain times type thing. So sometimes I would have to lift back home, which would be all bad if I didn't get a check during the times I would have to, Uber home. Sometimes I would have to walk all the way home or walk all the way to a bus that's running. When I finally got the job and I would get stranded, she didn't want to come pick me up from work, and I didn't have any other way home. I knew that I had to try to give her something in order for us to stay there. You know, it was just a lot. I needed money. I needed money to, you know, take care of myself and take care of my son or whatever. She would barely take us around to get any food. When I tell y'all, we had like 2 refrigerators and a deep freezer or something like that at her house, and it was full of old food. Like, the moment we would have ate that food, we would have been sick type thing. I would keep asking her or whatever, because at the time, you know, I had just started receiving my benefits for food stamps or whatever. You know, I'm not ashamed. It is what it is. I'm starting at the bottom. And your girl go come up at the top, look at this, and be like, hey, I remember. But anyways, yeah, so at the time I had food stamps, and I would ask her, you know, can you take me to get groceries or whatever? I'll put food in the house. We can cook, blase, blase. She didn't want to do it. But at the time I was driving, I think my license was just suspended. So I guess that would make her feel some type of way, and I understand. But at the same time, you don't want to drive, and ain't nobody else gonna drive, and I'm the only driver here outside of you, and we ain't got no food in this house, and I have to feed my son. Like, something gotta pop either way. Like, I know it's illegal, but sometimes you just gotta hop in the car, say a little prayer, and have God get you through type thing. But long story short or whatever, she didn't want to take me. There was times where I would have to walk all the way to the grocery store, or walk all the way to Little Caesars to bring back a pizza, you know, so my son would be able to eat. And that was like a 2-3 hour walk, y'all, all the way to Little Caesars at the time, because she stayed all the way on Superior type thing, which is like an hour or 2 walking to Little Caesars, back and forth. I would have to go and do things like that. And sometimes she had another roommate there. He was the real MVP. I loved him so much. But he basically, you know, whenever she wouldn't take me, whenever he came, whenever he was home, he would take me to go get the grocery. And then, you know, she'd be like, oh, well, what you get? Yeah, let me get some cookies, or let me get this and that. Like, girl, you didn't even want to take me to go get nothing. But, you know, I didn't want to be like that. So, you know, I shared and whatnot, but eventually, again, we ran out of food, and it was just the same cycle, the same pattern. So I remember one day her inviting somebody else, supposed to be our cousin, friend, whoever she was. She had came over, and, you know, we all was sitting around talking, drinking a little Long Island iced tea. So eventually, this Long Island iced tea had got to my auntie head. So her and him, so both of them, they get the talking or whatever. She like, yeah, she don't be putting no food in the house for them to eat, blase, blase. I had to stop and look like, girl, what? You said what? You didn't even want to take me. Every time I would ask you, can you take me to get some food or something, you ain't want to take me. So she just bumping her gums and saying that basically, and the lady like, oh, don't know nothing. Don't even know me from a can of paint. Don't know what's going on in this household or nothing. This is my first time ever seeing this woman. So she basically just like, oh, that's not good that you're not feeding your son and blah, blah, blah. Y'all, when I tell y'all I tried so bad to bite my tongue and just shut up because I knew that wasn't my house, but I snapped. I'm like, first of all, we got old food up in this house. She never want to take me to go get no food when I asked her. So don't sit up here and tell me anything about anything, because I bust my ass. Okay, I don't even mean to cuss on here, but I bust my ass. I be walking back and forth the best way I know how, 2-3 hours to make sure there's food in this house, because she don't want to take me to put no food in this house. Don't you dare come in here and try to speak on something that you don't know nothing about. And then my auntie, bitch, and da-da-da. Like, I'm like, what? Why? Are you upset? Are you upset? I understand you don't want us here. I know you don't want us here, but like, dang. You gonna call me out my name now? And then try to expose me in front of your friend, cousin, or whoever she's supposed to be. But anyways, y'all. So, y'all, it was just constant fights throughout the whole thing. Like, we would do nothing but just fight. And she would create fights between me and another roommate type thing. Because she had, like, 2 roommates. And then it was us that came and stayed there. But she would just create fights with all of us because she didn't want us there. She ended up inviting another family member or something there. And, you know, she come in, sleeping in the living room where I'm at all of a sudden. And I be in there watching TV, or my son be watching the TV. She'll come in there, grabbing a remote, changing it. You know, basically trying to run everything type thing. And it's just like, who is you? Where did you come from? You know? She ended up doing that, and that created some stuff too. My aunt had ended up starting a fight between me and another girl. She basically was talking about me and my mom and my son or whatever to her. So I guess one day I had came home and she was just like, oh, yo, I'm sick of doing this, I'm sick of doing that. And I'm looking at this girl real hard like, what's wrong with you? She like, oh, Rhonda told me, your auntie told me, and and I'm sick of And I'm like, hold on, sweetie, pipe down, because I'm the only person in this house. Like, my mom or somebody or whatever might not be cleaning up, but I make sure that's what it was about. It was about cleaning, actually, yeah. But I'm like, I clean up around here. I vacuum the floor, I wash the dishes, and I constantly ask her, what does she need me to do around the house? And she would tell me what she need me to do, and I would do it. So what you're not gonna sit here and do is come here and try to check me. When I tell y'all, my auntie almost got this girl beat up because I snapped so bad and I was ready to swing on her. And when I tell y'all, she was just sitting here like a demon, just watching, just quiet and looking all sad and stuff. You started this whole mess. Like, you about to have me fight this girl. After I started to go crazy, she basically was like, you know, I'm sorry. She's sitting there quiet or whatever. She told me da-da-da-da. And I said something type thing. And I'm like, no, it's cool. I clean up around here, though. And I asked her, I'm like, so I don't clean up around here? When you ask me to do something, I'll do it. Yeah, you do. Exactly. So why sit up here and start unnecessary fights? Long story short, we just kept fighting. It was just too much drama. She made it clear each and every single day that she didn't want me and my family there. I almost fought this lady, and I was just like, you know what, I can't do this. That same day, we ended up leaving, and we went back to a hotel. We stayed at the hotel or whatever at the time, and eventually we ran out of money again, so I had to take my son and give my son over to his dad and his grandma. They kept him while, you know, it was times where we had to sleep in the car. Well, I didn't get the car yet. I ended up getting the car along during the process of us staying in a hotel. I don't know why. Don't ask me. That was a dumb move. We could have been in our house. But I felt like we really needed a car at the time, so I went and got a car. But long story short, like, whenever we ran out of money or whatever, we would stay in the car and sleep. And my son, you know, I let him stay with them until I was able to get up on my feet again. During that time or whatever, when I got the car back, I ended up getting all my income and everything back, and I was able to continue to pay and stay at the hotel, which was hard to save and still have a place to stay and, you know, try to move and get a house. Like, it was just really difficult at the time. We had to sleep in all types of storms, like freezing cold. And then, like, sometimes when the guy that seen us, like, he knew we lived in the hotel, but he was so conniving. He was some type of Indian man. He basically tried to finesse me, like, I don't know if he was trying to have sex with me or what he was trying to do, but he wanted me to do all that type of stuff. He wanted me to do all that type of stuff in order for us to stay in a hotel, and I wasn't down for that. So he ended up telling us, you know, you got to stay outside. You can't sleep in here or whatever. Matter of fact, get off our property type thing. And then he had this thing where he would mark us down, and we couldn't come back unless our balances and stuff was paid. My mom, she ended up reaching out to my uncle and asked my uncle if we could come stay with him. At the time, he lived in Warren, Ohio, so that was like maybe an hour or so from where we were. So, you know, I got in my little Jeep, and we drove all the way out there to go stay with him. It came to a point where he didn't want us there, so he kept trying to get us to go home. Like, my car battery was dying and all type of stuff. Like, he made sure that battery got fixed so we can get up out his house. And it's like, dang, you know, I understand you and my mom might get into it and whatnot, but I ain't do nothing to y'all. Like, why I gotta be in the middle of this? Like, why I can't stay here? Like, but, you know, he didn't want us there. So we end up having to go back. We would go behind this BP gas station across from Texas Roadhouse, y'all. We would go there and we would stay there. I would try to go to the gas station and get little foods off my little stamps and whatnot. Or I would finesse y'all. I would call up Burger King, McDonald's, Lord forgive me. I would call up Cracker Barrel, Chipotle, each and every single food place and be like, hey, you guys messed up my order, da-da-da-da. I lost my receipt, woo-woo-woo. And the grace of God, they would be like, okay, well, come, we'll remake your food, da-da-da-da. And I would do that. That's how me and my mom ate. I would go and finesse some food. It was a time where, you know, my mom, she went to go stay at her friend's house. And I would go over my friend's house sometime. But, like, y'all, I'm like a cat. You know how, like, a cat or a dog or something is in pain, and they'll go off in a corner, and they won't tell you nothing. They will literally go over there and die if they have to. Like, it was like that for me. Like, I didn't want to tell my friend at the time, you know, I was homeless. I don't have a place to stay. Can I stay here type thing. I would just leave out of her house and just pretend like I'm on my way to go home. And when in reality, I'm about to go to my car and sit in the dark outside somewhere type thing. I would sleep in my car, and you know, sometimes people would pull up on me. It was this one guy who pulled up on me, and you know, I told him I didn't have a place to go. Instead of him being nice and buying me a hotel and whatnot, because it's just me, he just gave me gas, you know, to put in my car to keep the car warm or whatever. So I'm like, you know what, it's better than nothing. I have a warm car to sleep in. I accepted it, put the gas up in there, and you know, it was just that. One day my mom had called me. She like, you still at your friend's house? And I'm like, no, I'm not at her house anymore or whatever. I'm outside sleeping. My mom, she the real MVP. She didn't want me being alone. So she was just like, you know, come get me. Cause we gonna do this together. During that time, I was by myself. I cried so bad. I'm like, God, why is this me right now? Like, what did I do to deserve this? When I tell y'all, baby, why'd you look at my bed? When I tell y'all the power is in your tongue, watch what you say. It was recently. If I could find it, I'll try to put it on here somewhere. But it was a long time ago. I had posted on Facebook, I'd rather be homeless. And child, 2015 come and your girl was homeless. That's why I say it's power in the tongue. Watch what you say. But anyways, back on topic. I ended up going to get her, picked her up, and you know, we would sit in the car together. Eventually, we ended up going to this church. Somebody had told us about this church in the hotel that we were staying in. So we went to that church, and he gave us food, sleeping bags, and things like that. So it was really hard for us to eat the food because we didn't have a microwave or nothing. But I would ask the hotel people, you know, can we heat this up type thing. So they would let us do that. We would go in, we would heat it up, and you know, that was that. And we would keep warm in our car with the sleeping bags. But he also ended up getting us a few nights in the hotel as well. So yeah, he was lit. He was so nice. He was sweet. He was like, you know what, I won't even be able to help you anymore because we won't have the funds. But you know, here's some sleeping bags and everything. Swoop boop, get a do. Just the fact that being by Texas Roadhouse, we wanted some food so bad. We wanted to, hey, can y'all buy us a meal? I would see everybody just going in and out with food. It's smelling good. Everybody just, me and my mom just sitting there sad, wanting to break down and cry. Our pride is in a way. We scared to ask them if they could buy us some food. Like, it was just, ooh, I'm trying not to cry, y'all. I don't want to cry. I don't want to cry. God help me. But we would literally just be sitting there watching everybody come in and out with food, and us just wanting to ask so bad, like, can y'all get us a burger? Can y'all bring us out a steak? Like, it was just so hard. But, you know, I would cry and cry, you know, in this car. Me and my mom, we both would just go back and forth crying. And then it's just like, you know, I can't keep crying anymore. I gotta be strong. One of us gotta be strong. My mom is not strong right now. I gotta be the strong one right now. I believe God is gonna pull us through this. I'm gonna keep searching every single day, trying to find something. I end up talking to my aunt. She ended up calling me multiple times before she passed away. She ended up calling me, like, come to church, go to this church. They'll help you. They'll give you the funds you need to move, blase, blase. And I'm just like, no, I don't want to talk to her no more because she not helping for real. But when I tell y'all, she blew my phone up. But it was something in me was just like, I don't want to say something. I heard God speak to me like, you know what, if you don't answer that phone and stop being stubborn, I'm trying to help you out of this now, and you're not trying to, you know, be obedient. I'm sending somebody to help you. So I'm like, you know what, let me stop. Let me see what she's talking about. And I did exactly what she told me to do. And in the end, we ended up being able to get into a house. But, you know, we ended up going to the church. We ended up figuring out. We was able to have help to finally get into a house. I put my foot down. My mom wanted to go back and live in that hotel. I'm like, no, we are getting a house. I don't care if we have to sleep on a floor for a few weeks or whatnot. We gonna put our each and every single last together to get into a house. So I went on Zillow and I ended up finding this little house in the hood, St. Clair or whatever. And we ended up going, it was a quiet street. We ended up going there. It was really, really nice. She ended up giving us the place. I don't know how, y'all. Had a background on me, evictions. I wasn't making enough income, but it was just the grace of God that was able to get us into that home. And we ended up going there. She ended up giving us the place and keys. And then that was our last time being homeless. I got my son back. So yeah, that rounds up this story, y'all. I know this probably might be a little long, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye.